Everyone talks about making allies, but Machiavelli, he turned them into weapons. He knew the smartest man in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one quietly using everyone else to build his empire. And most never see it coming. What separates rulers from emperors? Both build alliances, but emperors bend those alliances into instruments of domination. Machiavelli knew alliances aren't just for protection, they're for conquest. Because the moment you rely on trust, you've already lost control. In this part 3, we'll look into how the most powerful minds in history used alliances not for peace, but for power, and how you can do the same, quietly, ruthlessly, and without ever lifting a sword. The most dangerous ruler isn't the one who declares war. It's the one who smiles, shakes hands, and sends others to conquer on his behalf. Machiavelli taught this with chilling clarity. Do not raise arms when you can raise allies. He knew that in politics, just like in war, the wise don't waste resources. They expand silently by aligning with those who crave relevance, protection, or access. Let's bring this into the modern world. Look at how large corporations move into new markets. They don't always build from scratch, they partner. A big fintech firm partners with a rural credit startup, not to help, but to absorb reach, data, influence. Soon, the local startup becomes dependent, then irrelevant. The bigger player now owns the territory without firing a shot. Machiavelli would call that genius. This isn't just strategy, it's survival. If you try to fight every battle yourself, you'll burn out or get outnumbered. But if you turn alliances into extensions of your power, you grow in the shadows. You control markets you never entered. You dominate rooms you've never stepped in. Real power isn't loud. It multiplies through people who think they're free while building your empire. Allies start off equal, but they don't have to stay that way. Machiavelli understood something most leaders forget. When someone joins you, they're seeking strength, security, a bigger fire to stand near. And if you feed that need just right, you control the flame. Take any modern corporation, you'll see it. A powerful CEO funds smaller startups, gives them access to markets, resources, maybe even public praise. But slowly, that support becomes a leash. Those partners stop making moves without his approval. They second-guess their own strategy. And before they realize it, they're not building their own empire. They're building his. That's how alliances become puppets, not through force, but through engineered dependence. You make them need your resources, need your advice, need your validation, and then you sit back while they do your work, thinking it was their idea all along. That's power without noise, control without resistance. Kings don't just fight wars with swords. They fight with weddings, with gold, with crowns made from promises. Machiavelli saw it clearly. The smartest rulers didn't threaten their enemies. They married them. You don't destroy your rival. You give his daughter a title. You turn his son into your heir. You offer his family a seat at your table, not out of love, but control. Why? Because marriage creates blood ties. And blood complicates betrayal. It doesn't eliminate it, but it slows it down. And when you mix in wealth, shared profits, land, inheritance, you've just built a prison made of silk. In modern terms, this is the equity deal that looks generous but makes the partner stay. It's the joint venture that merges reputations so tightly, neither side can exit cleanly. It's the salary raise that feels like a gift, but actually cages the person tighter. It's soft power, but it bites just as hard. Because once someone accepts your wealth, your family, your crown, they also inherit your leash. And suddenly, the alliance isn't between two equals. It's a bond you control. The truth is, no empire is built alone. Not by brute strength, not by brilliance, not even by bloodline. It's built by hands that don't even know they're building it. Advisors who think they're guiding you, generals who believe it was their idea, allies who think they're using you. But the truth? They orbit you. They sweat, bleed, and sacrifice. believing they serve themselves. But every move, every resource, every alliance pulls your throne higher. That's Machiavelli's whisper. Let others chase power loudly, while you build yours silently through them. Here's something most men never learn. Power doesn't mean doing everything yourself. It means getting others to bleed for you while you stay clean. Machiavelli's rulers understood this cold truth. Why start a war when you can fund someone else's? Why assassinate a rival directly when an ally will do it for a price? This is the true power of alliance. You gain reach without exposure. You move through proxies. You test waters without risking your own skin. In history, you'll see it everywhere. A king backs one noble to fight another. A prince funds a rebellion in a neighboring kingdom. If it works, he gains. If it fails, it was never his war. In modern life, it's when CEOs let partners test new markets before entering. It's when politicians float controversial ideas through party members, never saying it themselves. It's when companies use shell brands to try risky products, keeping their core brand safe. You're pulling the strings without stepping on stage. That's not cowardice. That's cold design. And that's how you rise, quietly, while others take the fall when things go wrong. Power isn't built on love. It's built on alignment. Machiavelli knew enemies can be more useful than friends when your goals overlap. Here's the brutal truth. You don't have to like them. You don't have to forgive them. You just have to use them. In The Prince, Machiavelli advised leaders to ally with former enemies, not out of trust, but out of strategy, because no one is more eager to prove loyalty than a former enemy who knows you could crush them. In modern warfare, countries form temporary coalitions with bitter rivals just to defeat a larger threat. In business, you'll see two competing companies collaborate on one product only to outpace a third. Even in your personal life, sometimes the guy who hates you might hate your obstacle more. Use it. The key is this: it's temporary. You're not building friendship, you're building advantage. Once the mutual threat is gone, the alliance dissolves. Just make sure you control the breakup before they turn their eyes back to you. There's a difference between being part of an alliance and being the axis it spins around. Machiavelli understood. The most powerful man in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one everyone needs to consult before making a move. Look at every empire that lasted. Rome, the British Crown, even modern political power blocks. They weren't just strong individually. They positioned themselves so that no deal could be made without them. In today's world, think of how powerful figures operate. The CEO who owns a key piece of infrastructure in the industry. The investor whose capital connects 5 rival startups. The consultant who knows everyone's secrets and holds the keys to coordination. When everyone else talks behind closed doors, they still need you to make anything happen. That's not presence, that's gravity. But here's the trick. To become the center, you have to do 2 things. Stay useful to everyone, without taking clear sides. Keep just enough secrets that no one wants to risk replacing you. When alliances start to drift apart, they should drift back to you, because you're the only one they all trust, or fear, enough to keep the circle intact. Most people think alliances are for protection, or support, or mutual goals. But Machiavelli knew better. He saw alliances as the perfect disguise to gather secrets while lowering suspicions. When someone calls you partner, they stop guarding their tongue. They invite you into private meetings. They share plans, frustrations, weaknesses. And that's when the real game begins. In business, an ally might give you back-end access, supply chain data, or investor updates, thinking you're just another player on the same team. But if you're playing like Machiavelli, you're cataloging everything. Who's the weak link in their operation? What markets are they entering next? Who do they fear most? And then you sit, quietly, until the moment comes to use that knowledge for your own advantage. Information is leverage. and alliances are the easiest way to collect it, legally, quietly, and without raising alarms. Want to truly dominate the game? Be the one who listens when others relax, because that's when power is exposed. Here's something cold, but powerful. Alliances are not meant to last forever. They're meant to last until they've served their purpose. Machiavelli didn't believe in emotional loyalty. He believed in timing, and when the time comes to break the alliance, you must break it clean, ruthless, surgical. Why? Because power shifts, and the very ally that helped you climb can become the biggest threat to your throne. History is filled with kings who fell because they kept alliances too long, out of guilt, out of honor, out of fear, and their enemies used it. In modern life, you'll feel it too. That friend, that business partner, that investor who was once an asset, but now drains your momentum. That's your signal, not to talk it out, not to wait for betrayal, but to exit quietly or collapse the deal on your terms. You don't win by holding on. You win by letting go before they see it coming. Not every conquest needs a sword. Some just need time and patience. Machiavelli understood this. You don't force allies into submission. You guide them until they forget they ever had power of their own. It starts small. You offer help. You solve problems. You become useful. Then you start making decisions for them. Just little ones. They nod. They agree, because it's easier that way. Before long, they don't move without your signal. They don't think without your input. They're not your ally anymore. They're your subject. But they still think it's a partnership. That's the genius of it. Modern world, it's no different. Think about influencers controlled by their managers, CEOs guided by board members, founders slowly shaped by investors. They look powerful, but they're already owned. This is silent domination, not through fear, but through comfort and control. Here's the paradox no one tells you. To dominate alliances, you must be seen as loyal, but not soft, not emotional, ruthlessly loyal. The kind of loyalty that says, I protect my own, but I will destroy betrayal without blinking. Machiavelli knew fear alone doesn't bind, but fear wrapped in honor, unbreakable. That's how emperors hold empires. Their allies don't stay because of love. They stay because they know you'll bleed for them and make others bleed twice as hard if someone crosses you. This is the code of the silent elite. They return favors, but record every betrayal. They protect, but never forget who owes what. Your reputation becomes your leverage. People won't betray you, not because they admire you, but because they know the cost. That's how you build alliances that don't shake, even when the world burns. Imagine being the man who never lifts a sword, but always wins the war. Not because you're the strongest, but because everyone fights for you. Your enemies fall, your empire grows, and all the while, you remain untouched. That's not luck. That's not loyalty. That's power, multiplied through alliance. Because when you no longer move alone, when every move pulls 10 more with it, you become inevitable. This is what Machiavelli meant in his final warning. Alliances are not protection. They are domination, done quietly.